Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto x Kurumu x Moka x Mizore? Part 2. If you want more awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. So, given all that, why would have to be? Sukun hesitated just a bit. It should be 8, right? That's right, Yukari said approvingly. I'm sure you'll do really well on the test tomorrow. Thanks, Yukari, you're a real lifesaver, he told her. He couldn't help but feel a bit embarrassed. Sorry, this must be a real inconvenience for you having to tutor me every night. I am sure it cuts into your own studying time. Oh, I don't mind, she said quickly. This is nice. I enjoy spending time with you, the young witch replied as a faint blush appeared on her cheeks. Sukun, you're really nice. Because I am a witch, it's hard to find anyone besides other witches that treat me with respect. Well, how else would I treat you? Well, I mean, you kind of saw it yourself with the upperclassmen, she pointed out as Sukun winced. It really bothered him that a nice girl like Yukari was bullying and discriminated for such circumstances outside of her control. The fact she was the rank 1 student in the entire academy while being a freshman spoke well of her mental prowess. Isn't there some kind of way to make it easier to avoid standing out? I mean, if you didn't wear your hat, others will be less likely to know you're a witch. Sukun jolted back when Yukari slammed her palms on the table. Like hell I will, she said and defiantly crossed her arms. If I did that, then it would be the same as saying I'm ashamed of what I am, she said as she titled her head down. I'm a witch. It's who I am. What I am. And I won't let anyone, human or monster, make me feel ashamed of being what I am. Yukari-san, he uttered. Besides, who else do you know can pull off this look? She asked as she struck a pose. He flashed her an amused smile. Well, I have to say it works for you. Yukari's face began to heat up as she fell back and quickly recovered herself, poking her fingers together with a flustered expression. Sukun became flustered upon realizing what he said, leading to a rather tense and awkward atmosphere. Silence befell them as both were too embarrassed to speak. Though the silence was finally broken when Naruto's voice pierced the room from behind the door. Hey! Is it safe to come in? You two aren't doing anything shameless, are you? Their panicked and flustered denials were soon met with Naruto's cackling. Over the course of the next few days, things were settling down. Much to his annoyance, Naruto was elected head of the newspaper club, being outvoted 3-2. Threatening Sukun with bodily harm garnered his vote. Trying to appeal to the girls with flirting and gifts surprisingly proved not as successful. Then again, he wasn't surprised considering what one of the duties of being the head of the club entailed. He had to read over and proofread all the information from the other members before it could be published. In other words, paperwork light. Well, at the very least that meant the others could be delegated to the other roles and things could be run officially. Kurumu was pretty much built for the gossip column considering her bubbly personality and ability to gather information. Moka, being a bit more serious and studious, would be handling the articles. That left Sukun and the recently joined Yukari to handle the advertisements and editing. By the time they were finished for the day, it was the late evening. Ensuring the others he would soon join them at the cafeteria, Naruto went over the last of the paperwork. Just as he was about to leave, a knock on the classroom door drew his attention. He proceeded to walk over to the door and was greeted by the last person he expected to see. Jinai! Uzumaki, he half-heartedly greeted. What do you want? He would have thought that the werewolf would not have been so foolish to come after you. I haven't come to fight you or anything like that, relax. Taking a moment to study him, he took notice of the perverted wolf's appearance. Jinai's hair was ragged, his skin had become sunken and pale. The showboat-style confidence he once showed had disappeared from his face, leaving in its place a worn-out shell of a man. Look, you may not realize it, but you and your little group saved my life. Naruto rose an eyebrow. And I suppose you're here to make amends? A matter of speaking. Look, long story short, I funked up. My actions could have started a war between my species and the vampires if I was successful in forcing myself on Moka if I hadn't been stopped. I lost control of myself and became a savage beast. For werewolves to lose control of ourselves is the greatest embarrassment, and doing so would often result of the execution of any of our kind who loses themselves and go rogue. As such, to repay you guys from saving me from myself, I'm giving you a heads up. I'm sure you've heard about the disappearances that have been going on lately. Naruto had heard the other day that one of the students hadn't showed up and people were looking into it. I heard about it, but I haven't looked into it. Well, to give you a heads up, I overheard some of the discipline committee talk about their suspicions while observing one of the scenes. They believe whatever or whoever is responsible is part snake because they found not only snake scales but heavy impact marks, so they believe whoever is responsible is also strong. But why would you think that might group in particular would be targeted? He couldn't help but be curious. So far, the pattern of missing students have all been female students of considerable beauty. In the worst case scenario, we have to consider that the students might have been fed on by a predatory monster, in which that case leads to particular monsters like a basilisk or bee patrice. Naruto recognized both creatures' names as one he had heard in the passing, but he didn't have in-depth knowledge of them. Could it be possible that it's a student, or even a faculty member? While so far he had yet to encounter any faculty members of the school displaying despicable behavior in an academy of monsters, it was highly unlikely everyone would be on the up and up. The basilisk has been hunted to near extinction, to point encountering one is rare, and bee patrice are a solitary and vicious species, so it's highly unlikely either one would have simply chose to attend Gakuen. It's just that in case of the disappearances, and likely factor of why they were taken would fit this modus operandi. Unless they were taken for another reason, Naruto pointed out as his expression darkened. There were other just as sinister reasons. In other words, I should keep an eye on Moka and Kurumu. Thanks for the heads up, Jinai. Like I said, consider us even, he replied with a half-hearted wave. What you do with the information is your business. Just keep my name out of it. The last thing I need is the Safety Commission gunning for me. Which reminds me, for your own good, don't run afoul of them. Even yourself or Moka would be hard-pressed to take on the likes of the head of the Safety Commission and come out of it unscratched. Now that he was finished saying what he had to say, Jinai left. With this new information in mind, he wasted no time in looking into this story before getting to the cafeteria to share what he learned. And you're sure what he says is credible? Considering Jinai's known trickery, Kurumu was hesitant to take anything the werewolf said seriously. I looked into it, Kurumu-chan, and there have been at least 7 disappearances. 4 sophomores, 2 juniors, and 1 freshman girl. All of them were of female monster species of great beauty whose physical differences were limb-additional or superficial appearance-based changes. Yukari frowned. There's not that many snake-based monsters that could have been silent and leave behind little traces of their struggle. For instance, if there's no poison left behind, that severely limits the number of possible species. One of the possible species is a bash. It could have crushed the girls and swallowed them whole, which would explain why there hasn't been any trace of the missing girls' bodies. Sukun blanched at that, going pale at Yukari's theorizing of such a horrible fate. How come the faculty isn't warning the students? Surely this is a danger that everyone should be made aware of. While the girls were concerned, they were nowhere near alarmed as Sukun. Sukun, this is just food chain basics. With such a large gathering collection of monster species, there are those who will flaunt the rules and prey on those weaker than them. It's commonplace. Don't tell me where you came from. This wasn't stressed to you? Moka questioned. Well, I just figured at such an academy such a thing wouldn't happen. His response was far from convincing. Anyway, if we can, we should look into this and gather whatever information we can. Just from the time frame alone, it's highly improbable some outsider has been able to sneak into and off campuses 7 times without alerting campus security, or not being witnessed by any of the students or staff. At the very least, we may be able to gather enough information to see who might fit the perpetrator's tastes, and we'll know who needs to be protected. If he was going to be stuck as the head of this club, he might as well use it to his advantage. As far as the investigation was concerned, Naruto had hit a wall. Unless the perpetrator slipped up, they would be no closer to finding their identity beyond this point. As Naruto began approaching the dorm, he sensed a presence. Turning, he looked to see it was the swimming club's leader, Ichino's Tamao. She was definitely a beauty. Her long turquoise hair was styled in a ponytail, and she was wearing a white top along with a violet wrap-up cover swim skirt with floral patterns. Upon closer inspection, Naruto noticed that her forehead was small. She had full lips and nice bone structure. Despite her rather light complexion, it was obvious the young woman had Greek ancestry. It appears we meet again, Uzumaki Naruto. Indeed, Tamao-san, how goes your club? I heard you and your members had a large feast the other day, he casually stated, bringing up the rumors of the swimming club's incident. The smile didn't leave Tamao's face. Surely you do not hold my race's natural instinct against me? After all, rumors say you are getting quite comfortable with the vampire, Moka Akashiya, whose species feast on the blood of others to survive. Surely condemning one is unfair unless you account for the action of others. On one hand, most people are justified in seeing your actions as villainous. You must admit, feeding on the entire life force of your prey is murderous and absolutely gluttonous. On the other hand, those who don't use their head and willingly walk into such traps are fools. It's a conundrum, really, having to find a balance of seeking peace while also accepting that some lives aren't worth saving and that certain beings are scum who only deserve death. Is there a reason why you sought me out, Tamao-san? He asked as Tamao reached into her bag and brought out a letter. I was asked to deliver this to you, she informed him as the letter dropped from her fingers into Naruto's opened, waiting hands. She watched as his eyes carefully scanned the envelope. Then, bringing up his thumb, he began to shred open the top of the enclosed letter with a slight tearing sound permeating the air. Putting the envelope under his armpit after he carefully opened it and read the letter's content. Unfortunately, I'm in a hurry, but I'll see you around sometime, Uzumaki Naruto, she said with a flirty smile. I'll be looking forward to it, he replied, looking up from the half-read contents of the message. Naruto watched as the watery beauty tossed back her hair and walked away with a little sway in her step. Though to think that they are here, he mumbled as he went back to reading the letter. The following morning, Naruto had met Moka outside her dorm room and they attended class as usual. There was only one thing that could be done. Tail the students of the art class using copies until the culprit struck. Well, in art class today, you'll be painting pictures continuing with last week's theme of what's important to you. The teacher spoke to the classroom, which seemed to be enraptured by her words. And just what is important to you is the art in each and every one of your hearts. Feel free to paint whatever you want. Naruto moved to the hallway outside and the girls' scent ended there. All of the girls did have art class, he recalled. That was the only connection they all have. That fact in itself was definitely suspicious. He turned his head and came face to face with the girl who was staring at him curiously. Do you want to join Ishigami-sensei's art class? I'm skipping class 2 to be with her, she quipped, a smile on her face. No. Naruto said as any self-was-had of nude modeling for sensei was dashed. He went on his way, nearly face-faulting at the comment the girl made. On his way back, Naruto ends up crashing into someone. Oi, the person moaned. Naruto looked down, and his eyes immediately caught sight of yellow lace panties. He averted his eyes as they trailed up to come face to face with Kurumu. Naruto! Kurumu exclaimed as she straightened out her skirt, trying to cover her panties. Sorry about that, Kurumu-chan, didn't see you there. He apologized and extended a helping hand. With a blush, she took a hold of Naruto's hand and lifted her up with ease. With an ever-growing heart, she hugged Naruto. I'm so happy that I bumped into you, Naruto. I can't believe we bumped into a hallway, what a coincidence, she said ecstatically before burying Naruto's face in her plentiful breasts. Naruto eventually pulled himself away. Not that I don't find your way of greeting me unique. I'm curious about why you do it this way. Kurumu pouted as she replied, Don't you like it, Naruto? I'm just trying to make you happy since you are my destined one after all. Right. Naruto smiled. Kurumu, now while what you were doing was nice, Well, me admiring your tits the whole won't do much for developing our relationship. Like for instance, you haven't gotten to know me yet. Do you know my birthday? My favorite color? Food? My parents' names? He listed off as Kurumu paused. She looked disheartened and hung her head. I guess I haven't taken the time to learn much about you. Sorry, Naruto. No, it's okay, he assured her as he brushed his hand against hers. Now would be a good time to start. But then he was engulfed in a hug by Kurumu. Yahoo, let's have lunch together later, K. Okay. During the course of the next few days, Moka had been spending less and less time with the group. Naruto couldn't help but wonder if Moka was genuinely taken with the interest of art, and if her role as the beard had been compromised. Regardless, the time away had given Naruto and Kurumu time to bond. As such, Naruto learned a few things about Kurumu, like that the succubus had a sweet tooth and she liked to cook. That her favorite color was, in fact, red, and that she preferred felines to canines. She even talked a bit about her family. Her mother was a famous movie star and her father was a human baker who died from an illness. Apparently, Kurumu inherited her finesse for baking from her father. Each day, after Naruto and Kurumu separated, he followed the scent of a different girl and he found himself in Ishigami's office. He knocked and there wasn't any answer. Peering inside and noticing it was empty, he stepped inside and could smell the scent growing ever stronger. He eventually made way over to a closet where the faint sound of crying was coming from. He tore it open and was filled with shock by what he saw. It was a statue of a naked girl, covering up her breasts with her arms. But that was not the thing that was shocking. What shocked Naruto was that the statue was crying. Despite being stone, it held a look of utter terror infused with sadness. Then, Naruto noticed the hairstyle it was using. It looked familiar. Hadn't he seen a girl with that same hairstyle? Wait, could this statue be? I see, so that's what happened. Your little game ends here, and today Ishigami Hitomi, the art teacher, had a passion for eternal art. The euphoria she gained from staring at beauty was indescribable. To say she was happy to accept Moka as a student was an understatement. Even as an older and more experienced woman, she was quite envious of Moka's body. Her smooth skin, her curves, her assets that exciting the hot blood of young men. Ishigami did not enjoy being as tall as she was or her rough, snake-like skin. As such, she was quite envious of the female form, the young female form that she lacked, which made her an outcast in her youth. Ishigami-sensei, what do you think? My painting doesn't look too bad, does it, sensei? Ishigami gazed upon the portrait. To her surprise, the figure was male but easy on the eyes. His blonde hair was vibrant, a light shade akin to gold. His blue eyes sky blue, the tentative detail almost made them seem lifelike. Is this? Yes, indeed, this must be Moka-san's Naruto? The one that she talks so much about. The dreadlock teacher said with a grin as Moka blushed. Indeed. I have to say I'm not so bad looking, huh? He asked from the doorway. Ishigami tensed as the masculine voice came from behind her. Before she could react, he was in front of her right next to Moka. Naruto! Moka whined. You weren't supposed to see it yet. Moka-chan is such a good artist. You should let me paint you too. I have all sorts of cute little outfits you can try on while I paint. He playfully teased her. Moka flushes, understanding the implications of his word. You hentai! He grasped her chin. Only with you, he said, kissing her forehead. After all, you're mine, and no one else's. I'm the only one that can enjoy your entirety. He possessively stated, clarifying to the art teacher that he was staking his claim. Naruto-san, while I'm sure you must have a reason for being here, you're interrupting Moka's. I don't mind, Ishigami-sensei, Moka interrupted. My surprise is ruined anyway. She pouted cutely. She had hoped to surprise the blonde with the image when it was done. Sure, she was supposed to be helping investigate the disappearance of the girls, but she couldn't help but let her inner artiste flourish. Naruto then turned to Ishigami, gaining a sharp expression. I believe it's time we stop playing games. Why don't you tell us for what sick purpose do you have those girls petrified in your office? With sudden realization, Moka connected the pieces as she slowly backed away. Then that means the girls are. Ishigami's dreadlocks immediately began reacting and the air was filled with hissing sounds. Her hair soon began moving and soon, multiple snake heads poked out to glare at the couple in front of them. The beautiful students of this academy. The Medusa finished with a wicked smile. Yes, I've turned them all to stone. Her face warped into a twisted and maniacal visage as she spoke with utmost joy. Isn't it artistic? And you too will be turned into stones and added to my art collection. With a few alterations you would fit in as well, Uzumaki-san. You and Akashiya Moka will be my latest and greatest additions. The hell we will! Naruto shouted as he flung several kunai indiscriminately. Now to a guy like Naruto, or any guy, the phrase of altering him done by a person who clearly liked to do weird and freaky shit like turning students into stones, it scared him shitless, as only one thing came to mind. The kunai pierced the side of the snakes, causing them to hiss angrily. You little bastard, I'll neuter you for that. Naruto's pupils shrunk. Before the Medusa could react, Naruto palms slammed her gut, sending her flying back with such incredible force it caused the wall to crack and shatter. Her monster heritage was the only reason she was still alive, as her body laid crumpled on the ground. Well, that solves our case. The only response Moka could give was a stunned nod. Naruto leaned against a tree outside Moka's dorms, watching the sunset drape the sky in fiery hues. After the intense confrontation with Ishigami, he had decided they both deserved a breather. He'd chosen this evening to take Moka out on a date, a proper date, without lurking threats or interruptions. A small smile crossed his face as he thought about her reaction. He could already picture her cheeks flushing as she gave that shy nod of agreement. Naruto had planned everything, from the quiet walk in town to a cozy dinner. Naruto's thoughts were interrupted as he caught sight of Moka stepping out, her usual aura tinged with a mix of anticipation and nerves. Her soft pink hair cascaded over her shoulders, framing a slight, endearing blush. She wore a dress that suited her perfectly, simple yet elegant, a pale lavender hue that deepened her gentle features. She looked beautiful, and Naruto felt his heart skip a beat, an unexpected warmth spreading through him. Moka-chan, you look incredible, he said, his voice softer than he intended. Moka's cheeks deepened to a rosy pink as she looked down, fiddling nervously with the strap of her purse. Thank you, Naruto-kun. You look really nice too. Naruto grinned, offering her his hand, which she took after a brief, shy hesitation. Ready to go? As they arrived in town, Naruto noticed Moka glancing around, her eyes bright with excitement and curiosity. The quaint town square bustled with activity, the warm glow of shop lights mingling with the faint sounds of music from a street musician. Naruto led her to a small cafe by the riverside, where the reflection of evening lights danced across the water. Once seated, Naruto leaned across the table, his chin resting on his hand. So, what do you think of this place? Better than Academy grounds, right? Moka smiled, gazing at the rippling water, her eyes sparkling. It's beautiful, Naruto-kun. I never thought I'd get to see something like this. She looked back at him, her expression softening. Thank you for bringing me here. Naruto chuckled. It's about time you had a break. And hey, I get to have you all to myself for the evening, no fan clubs, no interruptions. They shared a quiet laugh, and Moka's laughter softened as she looked at Naruto, as if memorizing every detail. Naruto felt his pulse quicken under her gaze, yet he held her gaze confidently, sensing a deeper connection beginning to bloom between them. After a while, Naruto suggested they explore further, taking her through the winding paths of the town, stopping occasionally to browse the little trinket shops or watch the sunset from different vantage points. At one point, Naruto spotted a small alley that opened to a secluded view of the river, and he led Moka there, the soft evening breeze tousling her hair. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she whispered, her voice carrying over the quiet ripples of the river. He turned to her, a light grin forming on his face. For what? For all of this, she said, glancing down with a shy smile. Since meeting you, the loneliness that plagued me melted away. He reached out, gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I'll always be here when you need someone. The restaurant Naruto chose was small and tucked away, its soft lighting casting a warm glow on the quiet tables and rustic decor. Naruto and Moka settled into a booth by the window, where the dim light from street lamps cast gentle shadows across their faces. Despite the shy airs around her, there was an undeniable spark of excitement, and he felt his own nerves soften as he caught her glancing around, soaking up every detail. As they looked over the menu, Moka hesitated. This is my first time going to a place like this. Naruto gave her a reassuring smile. Then tonight you get to choose anything you want. Go on, pick something, whatever looks good. She smiled, her cheeks tinged pink, as she studied the menu. Eventually, they ordered a simple meal, and as they waited, Naruto leaned back, his arms crossed as he watched her with a fond smile. So, what do you think? He asked, his eyes glinting with humor. This beat cafeteria food? Moka laughed, the sound light and airy. Oh, definitely. Thank you, Naruto-kun. It's really wonderful. She looked at him directly, her eyes softening. You always seem to know just what I need. They began to talk more freely, sharing stories and laughs between bites. Moka's laughter grew more frequent, and he felt her relaxing in his presence. After dinner, Naruto suggested they take a walk by the lake, a quiet path where the moonlight shimmered on the water's surface, reflecting the stars above. They strolled hand in hand, the gentle pressure of Naruto's fingers grounding Moka, who looked up at the stars with wide-eyed wonder. Naruto glanced down at her, his gaze soft as he took in her peaceful expression. Pretty incredible, isn't it? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Moka nodded, smiling. It's beautiful, she replied, but her gaze shifted from the stars back to Naruto. I can't think of anything more amazing than being here right now. Naruto's cheeks tinged pink, but he smiled, squeezing her hand. They continued walking, talking quietly about everything and nothing, their voices mingling with the soft sounds of nature around them. After a while, they came to a secluded spot near the edge of the lake, where a few large rocks created a comfortable place to sit and watch the water. They sat down, and Naruto stretched his arm out behind her, his fingers brushing lightly against her shoulder. Moka leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder, and he felt a warmth bloom in his chest, spreading all the way to his fingertips. Moka's breath hitched, and her eyes softened as she leaned in, her lips barely a whisper away from his. Naruto-kun, she whispered, her voice full of unspoken emotions. With a quiet, tender intensity, Naruto closed the small gap between them, his lips brushing hers in a gentle, lingering kiss. The world seemed to fall away, leaving only the warmth of her lips, the soft sound of her breath, and the fluttering sensation in his chest. Their kiss deepened slowly, as if each second stretched into eternity. Moka's hands found their way around his neck, and Naruto's arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer as the gentle kiss grew more passionate. Her lips were soft, sweet, and every sensation was heightened by the peaceful quiet around them. It was as if the world had granted them this single moment to savor each other, undisturbed. When they finally broke apart, Moka's cheeks were flushed, her breath coming in soft, uneven gasps as she met his gaze. Naruto-kun, she whispered, her voice a tender murmur. I think I've fallen in love with you. Naruto's heart soared, and he felt a warm smile spread across his face. He gently brushed a lock of hair behind her ear, his hand lingering against her cheek. Moka, I love you too. They remained close, their foreheads touching as they held each other. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, casting their light down upon them, and the lake's surface mirrored the soft glow of the moon. As they sat there, wrapped in each other's arms, Naruto leaned down to press another kiss to her forehead, his touch gentle, reverent. No matter what happens, I'll be here for you, he promised, his voice a quiet vow. I'm yours, Moka? Forever. Moka's eyes filled with quiet joy, and she nestled closer against him, her head resting on his chest as she closed her eyes. I feel the same, Naruto-kun. Being with you, it's all I could ever want. They stayed like that, wrapped in the warmth of each other's embrace, until the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon. Elation still coursed through the blonde after the night he shared with Moka. He had dropped the pinkette off at the morning and simply waited for her to come to him. In the midst of training, he sensed something akin to a predator had begun stalking him. Pausing, he straightened, squinting into the shadows. That was when he saw her, inner Moka, her striking silver hair catching the last rays of sunlight, her crimson eyes cool and steady as she observed him from a distance. She took a few measured steps forward, crossing her arms, an air of confidence in every line of her posture. Enjoying the show? He asked, a grin spreading across his face as he met her gaze. She didn't immediately respond, only beeping an eyebrow as if assessing him, judging whether he was worth her time. Her lips curved slightly, and she gave a small, amused nod. It's not bad, she replied, her voice steady but laced with something that felt almost like a challenge. But you're holding back. There's more to you than that. Naruto's grin widened. You think so? Well, if you think you can handle it, why don't you step up and give me a real challenge? A spark of interest flickered in her eyes, and she took a few steps closer, close enough now that he could feel her intensity, a force that radiated from her like heat. She was different from outer Moka, fiercer, bolder, and he could sense the strength and purpose in her every movement. You think you're ready for that? She asked, her tone both a taunt and a question, her gaze never wavering. Naruto's answer was simple. Only one way to find out. Her smirk widened, and for a second, he could see the thrill of a true challenge glint in her eyes, her crimson gaze sharp and focused. With no further words needed, they moved in sync to a more open part of the training grounds, each of them feeling the anticipation settle between them like a silent countdown. They faced each other in silence, each sizing up the other, the air between them thick with a mix of challenge and excitement. Naruto could feel his heartbeat quicken as he took in her stance, every inch of her radiating strength and control. But he didn't let it intimidate him. Instead, he welcomed it, the thrill of facing her making his own pulse race. Without warning, Moka made the first move, darting forward with a speed that surprised even Naruto. Her fist shot toward him, and he barely had time to dodge, her strike grazing his cheek as he sidestepped. The power behind her blow made him grin, and he returned the gesture, his own fist flying toward her. She blocked him effortlessly, her arm moving up to deflect his punch, and countered with a high kick that forced Naruto to duck, the rush of her attack a hair's breadth from his head. She didn't give him a moment to recover, moving with swift precision, each strike calculated to push him further. Naruto's blood sang with the thrill of it, and he matched her, his movements becoming sharper, his senses heightened. For every kick she threw, he blocked or dodged. For every punch, he countered, their movements intertwining in a fierce rhythm. They circled each other, breath mingling as they moved closer with each exchange. Her foot swung toward him in a powerful arc, and Naruto caught her ankle midair, his grip firm as he leaned closer, his grin wide. Not bad, but you'll have to do better than that. Moka's eyes narrowed, her lips curving in a smirk. You asked for it. She twisted free, and they continued their dance, each testing the other's limits. Naruto felt his respect for her grow with every move, the realization dawning that she was unlike anyone he'd ever faced. She was precise, powerful, and every movement was laced with determination, as if she'd been crafted them to combo together to achieve victory. They came to a sudden halt, both of them breathing hard, a thin sheen of sweat on their brows. Not bad yourself, he said, his voice low, his words carrying a note of respect. She didn't respond right away, only looking at him with an intensity that sent a thrill through him. Finally, she nodded, a small acknowledgement of their mutual respect. After their spar, they found themselves sitting side by side against a large tree at the edge of the training field. The silence between them was comfortable, each lost in their own thoughts, still feeling the thrill of their fight lingering in the air. For once, Moka seemed unguarded, her usually fierce expression softened by the quiet satisfaction of a worthy opponent. Naruto glanced at her, his gaze thoughtful. "You know, you're really something, Moka. You've gotten much stronger since last time." Moka looked away, her gaze distant as she spoke. "I don't get that kind of respect often. A tool, my beauty, my wealth, all others see me for uses than who I am." Naruto heard the quiet bitterness in her voice, and he felt a pang of empathy. He could understand what it felt like to be seen as something other than a person, to be reduced to a role. He reached out, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder, and to his surprise, she didn't pull away. Bit by bit, day by day, week by week into years, he had slowly built a bond with the proud vampire, and it finally seemed like that front she liked to put up was finally coming down. Sweet or fierce, pink or silver, all of you, with or without Rosario, is simply Moka to me. If the rest of the world refuses to acknowledge you for who you are, then I'll make up for it. For a moment, her guard slipped, and he saw the hint of vulnerability in her eyes, a side of her she rarely showed. She looked away, but he could tell his words had reached her, and that was enough. The silence stretched between them, and Naruto felt a sudden impulse to keep this moment going, to share something beyond the training grounds. He stood, extending a hand toward her with a small, inviting smile. "Come on. Let's take a walk. There's a trail through the forest that leads to a spot where the moonlight hits just right. It's quiet, peaceful." Moka hesitated, glancing at his hand, but something in his gaze made her reach out, her fingers slipping into his as she allowed him to pull her to her feet. They walked side by side, their footsteps soft on the forest floor, the sounds of nature blending with the quiet rustle of their movements. The forest was cool and shadowed, the moonlight filtering through the branches, casting a soft glow around them. Naruto could feel Moka's presence beside him, her usual edge softened, her hands still in his as they walked in companionable silence. "Do you ever wish things were different?" Naruto asked after a while, his voice thoughtful. "I mean, do you ever wish you were born as a normal person or monster?" Moka was quiet for a moment, her gaze fixed ahead. "Sometimes," she admitted, her voice soft. "But it's hard to imagine a life like that. I've always been a proud and powerful vampire and child of a dark lord. It's just who I am." Naruto looked at her, his expression gentle. "Maybe it's part of who you are. But no matter what anyone says, you are who you make of yourself. Even if you're simply just Moka in my eyes, you have the choice to be even more than that." Her lips curved into a small smile, and she gave his hand a gentle squeeze. "You have a way of making me feel seen, Naruto. And it's strange, but I like it." As they continued their walk, the path led them to a clearing where the moonlight poured down like liquid silver, illuminating the space with an ethereal glow. Naruto stopped, turning to face her, his expression serious, his grip on her hand firm but gentle. "Moka," he began, his voice steady. "Whatever you choose to be, just know I'll be by your side. You don't have to be what's expected of you from your family." She looked at him, her gaze uncertain, a mix of emotions flickering in her eyes. "But what if that's all I am? What if that's all others ever see?" Naruto's hand reached up, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I see you, Moka, every part of you. And I respect you for it." Her breath hitched, and she looked away, a soft vulnerability in her gaze that made his heart ache. "Naruto, I think I've grown to care about you more than I thought I could." Naruto's eyes softened, and he moved closer, his hand gently cradling her face, his thumb brushing over her cheek. "That affection you have is returned and then some." They stood in the clearing, the silence around them filled with the weight of their shared emotions. Slowly, almost hesitantly, Moka leaned in, her lips brushing his in a tentative kiss that held a world of unspoken feelings. Naruto's arms wrapped around her, pulling her closer as the kiss deepened, each of them pouring everything they felt into the connection. Her hands moved to his shoulders, gripping him as if afraid to let go, her body pressing against his as they lost themselves in each other. The world faded away, leaving only the warmth of their embrace, the softness of her lips, the gentle press of his hands against her back. When they finally pulled apart, Moka's face was flushed, her breath coming in soft gasps as she looked up at him, her eyes filled with a quiet wonder. Naruto, thank you for seeing me. Naruto smiled, his hand brushing over her cheek. I'll always be here, Moka. Always. They stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, the moonlight casting a gentle glow over them as they held each other, content in the peace they'd found together. With both sides now unified in their thoughts and feelings, the next step in their relationship could be taken. Kurumu darted back and forth across her dorm room, a blur of energy as she pulled dresses from her closet, held them up to herself, and tossed them onto her bed one after the other. The floor was already littered with a colorful array of skirts, tops, and accessories, making the room look like a storm of fashion choices had blown through. She paused, standing in front of her mirror and holding up a sleek, midnight blue dress with a low back. Too flashy, she muttered, tossing it aside. She wanted something that would look nice, but she didn't want to rely on her usual succubus charms tonight. This date was with Naruto, after all, someone who looked at her differently, who saw past her succubus allure. He was the first person who didn't seem to expect her to always be flirty or perfect. She crossed her arms, thinking aloud as she scanned the remaining options. What am I even supposed to wear? She whispered, catching her own wide-eyed reflection in the mirror. This isn't like any other date. She'd been on plenty of dates before, where she wore eye-catching outfits and confidently charmed her way through the evening. But this time, she wanted to show him a different side of herself. The real her, the one who was more than just a pretty face or a flirty attitude. Finally, she spotted it, a simple, sky-blue sundress hanging near the back of her closet. It was one of her favorites, comfortable and airy, with fluttery sleeves and a gently cinched waist. It was sweet and casual, and she loved the way it made her feel light and carefree. She slipped into it, giving a little twirl in the mirror. The soft fabric floated around her, and the blue color made her eyes pop, giving her a natural, effortless glow. Yes, she exclaimed, grinning at her reflection. This is it. She felt a rush of excitement and relief, finally satisfied with her choice. Next came her hair. Normally, she'd style it with a bit of volume or add a few waves for effect, but tonight, she opted to keep it natural, brushing it until it was soft and silky. She added a tiny clip with a small silver butterfly, pinning back a few strands to keep her hair from falling into her eyes. It felt like the perfect little touch, and she smiled as she leaned closer to the mirror to adjust it. Not bad, Kurumu, she whispered to her reflection. You've got this. But as she looked at herself, her smile faded just a bit. Beneath the excitement, there was a hint of nervousness she hadn't felt on other dates. What if he only saw her as a succubus? What if he thought she was trying too hard or that she wasn't as interesting as she seemed? She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing thoughts. She knew Naruto wasn't like other people. He was kind, thoughtful, and always saw the good in others. He didn't care about flashy or impressive. He just wanted her to be herself. She placed her hand over her heart, feeling it beat rapidly under her palm. You're going to be fine, she told herself firmly, summoning the confidence that usually came so easily. Just have fun and be yourself. Kurumu added a touch of lip gloss, giving her lips a subtle shine, and dusted a little blush onto her cheeks for color. She hesitated as she looked down at her jewelry box, her fingers hovering over a pair of large, sparkly earrings she often wore. They were bold, eye-catching, and probably not the right choice for tonight. She picked up a simpler pair, small crescent moons, delicate and subtle. She fastened them on, and admired the effect in the mirror. The little moons suited the night's quiet, hopeful energy perfectly. Just as she was finishing up, she glanced out the window and saw the sun dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in soft oranges and purples. The sight sent another thrill through her. She couldn't remember the last time she'd felt so genuinely excited about a date, and she realized that this excitement wasn't because of the date itself, but because it was with Naruto. He had a way of making her feel special, like he saw more in her than she usually saw in herself. She gave her reflection one last approving look, nodding with satisfaction. All right, Kurumu. Let's do this. As she grabbed her small purse and slipped on her shoes, she took a final, steadying breath. Tonight was her chance to be seen for who she was, without the pretense, without the act. She was determined to show Naruto the real Kurumu, flaws and all. With her heart still pounding and her excitement bubbling over, Kurumu left her dorm and made her way to the academy gates where Naruto had asked her to meet him. She walked quickly, trying to keep her steps light and steady, but her mind was racing. Would he like her outfit? Would he notice the small details, like the silver butterfly clip or the crescent earrings? She shook her head, trying to banish the nervous thoughts. As she reached the gates, she spotted him right away. Naruto stood waiting, looking relaxed and confident in a simple button-up shirt and jeans. He leaned casually against the fence, his gaze sweeping the horizon as if he was deep in thought, but when he saw her approaching, he straightened, his face breaking into a warm smile. For a moment, Kurumu's breath caught. The way he looked at her, with that easy, genuine smile, like she was the only person he wanted to see, made her heart skip a beat. She walked up to him, trying to hide the pink tint creeping onto her cheeks. Kurumu, Naruto greeted, his tone soft and sincere as he took her in. You look amazing. Kurumu felt her cheeks burn, and her usual witty reply got stuck in her throat. She glanced away, a shy smile tugging at her lips. Thanks, Naruto. You look nice too, she managed, surprised at how quiet her voice sounded. She wasn't used to feeling this way, vulnerable, almost bashful, but somehow, with Naruto, it felt okay. Naruto grinned, his gaze warm as he extended his arm to her. Ready for tonight's adventure? Kurumu took his arm with only a brief hesitation, feeling her heart flutter as she slid her hand into the crook of his elbow. His touch was warm, steady, grounding her in a way she hadn't expected. She looked up at him, her earlier nerves dissolving into excitement. Lead the way, Naruto. As they began walking together, the sun dipped further below the horizon, casting the world in twilight. The air was filled with the gentle chirping of crickets, and the faint scent of blooming flowers drifted from the academy's gardens nearby. Kurumu felt a comfortable silence settle between them, broken only by their footsteps crunching softly on the path. It was a small, quiet moment, but she couldn't remember the last time she'd felt so at ease. So, she asked, glancing at him with a playful smile, what do you have planned for us tonight? Keeping any secrets? Naruto chuckled, a hint of mystery in his voice. Maybe, he teased, his eyes glinting mischievously. Let's just say it'll be more than just a simple dinner. I thought it'd be fun to mix things up a bit. Kurumu's heart raced as she looked at him, her curiosity piqued. Oh? So you have a mysterious side, huh, Naruto? I didn't know that about you. Naruto shrugged, a small smile tugging at his lips. Guess you'll find out tonight. Their laughter filled the air, warm and familiar, and Kurumu felt herself relaxing even more. She squeezed his arm lightly, feeling a surge of gratitude that he'd thought to make the night special. As Kurumu and Naruto strolled toward the edge of town, Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out a small piece of folded paper, handing it to her with a mysterious smile. What's this? Kurumu asked, raising an eyebrow as she took the paper from him. She unfolded it, revealing a handwritten note with a playful riddle. Start with a place that smells of ink and tales, where dusty pages tell old, whispered tales. Seek the book about a fox and a friend. For there, your journey will truly begin. Kurumu's eyes lit up as she read the clue, a grin spreading across her face. Is this a scavenger hunt? Naruto chuckled, nodding. Not just any scavenger hunt. It's a mystery date. Each clue will lead us to a new spot, and each stop will have a little surprise waiting for you. He scratched the back of his head, a little sheepish. I thought it'd be more fun than just doing dinner and a movie. Kurumu's heart melted at his thoughtfulness. Naruto, this is amazing. I love it. She clutched the note excitedly, her earlier nerves fading completely in the face of this unexpected adventure. She tucked her arm into his as they set off together, the night air filled with her bubbly enthusiasm. Okay, so the first stop is a place with dusty pages and tales, she mused, tapping her chin thoughtfully. A bookstore. Naruto grinned, nodding. Exactly. There's an old bookshop not too far from here. Let's see if you can find the right book. Together, they made their way to the bookstore, a quaint little shop with faded green paint and a large display window filled with stacks of old novels and dusty volumes. A hand-painted sign over the door read the book nook, and as they entered, the rich scent of aged paper and leather bindings washed over them. The walls were lined with towering bookshelves, each shelf crammed with books of every color and size. Kurumu's eyes sparkled as she looked around. This place is wonderful. I didn't even know it existed. Naruto shrugged, smiling as he watched her excitement. It's one of those hidden gems. I found it by accident one day, and it seemed like the perfect spot to start tonight's adventure. Kurumu scanned the shelves, her eyes darting over the titles. She followed the clue's hint, looking for anything related to a fox. Finally, in the fantasy section, her fingers brushed over a worn, red leather book titled The Fox and the Magician. She pulled it from the shelf, and sure enough, tucked between the pages was another note. She looked at Naruto with delight as she opened the paper, reading the next clue aloud. Next, seek a place that's sweet and chill, where flavors dance and laughter still. Look for a treat both pink and cold, and there, the next secret will unfold. Kurumu laughed, catching on quickly. An ice cream parlor, right? Yep, Naruto said with a grin. There's a little spot around the corner. They left the bookstore and made their way to a cozy ice cream shop with pastel-colored walls and fairy lights strung across the ceiling. As they walked in, the shop's owner, an elderly woman with a warm smile, waved them over to the counter. Ah, you must be Kurumu, the owner said, winking at Naruto. Your friend here left a little something for you. She handed Kurumu a pink envelope with her name written in Naruto's handwriting. Kurumu felt her cheeks warm as she took the envelope, opening it to find another note inside along with a small gift card for a scoop of her favorite flavor. Strawberry swirl! She exclaimed, laughing as she looked at Naruto. How did you know? Naruto chuckled. I may have overheard you talking about it once or twice. Thought it'd be a nice touch. Kurumu grinned, shaking her head as they approached the counter to order. As they waited for their ice cream, she felt a warm sense of appreciation for Naruto's thoughtfulness. Each little detail showed just how much effort he'd put into making the night special. They each got their ice cream, Naruto with a classic vanilla cone and Kurumu with her strawberry swirl, and found a small table by the window. As they sat there, laughing and enjoying their treats, Kurumu realized she was having the best time she'd had in ages. Naruto's laughter was contagious, and she found herself smiling so much her cheeks ached. So, Kurumu said, licking her spoon thoughtfully, you've planned all these clues, huh? Should I be worried about what's coming next? Naruto leaned back, his expression mischievous. Oh, I wouldn't say worried. But you should definitely stay on your toes. Kurumu laughed, thoroughly intrigued as she finished her ice cream. Once they were done, she unfolded the latest note to read the next clue. Now seek the sounds of games and cheer, where players laugh and faces peer. A place of tokens, flashing lights. Find it there, and start the fight. Kurumu's eyes widened in delight. An arcade. Are we going to the arcade? Naruto grinned, nodding. You got it. Ready for a challenge? Oh, bring it on, Kurumu said, hopping up with newfound energy. She took Naruto's hand, tugging him toward the door. Let's see who's the real champ tonight. As they walked toward the arcade, Kurumu glanced up at Naruto, the thrill of the night buzzing through her. She couldn't believe how thoughtful he was being. He had crafted this entire experience just for her, with each stop designed to bring out something she loved. She squeezed his hand lightly, feeling a surge of gratitude and warmth for him. She never had a date like this, one where everything felt so spontaneous, fun, and tailored just for her. "Thank you, Naruto," she said softly, looking up at him. "I don't think I've ever had this much fun." Naruto looked down at her, his expression sincere. "I wanted you to feel special, Kurumu. You deserve that." He smiled, giving her hand a gentle squeeze in return. "Besides, it's fun for me too. I like seeing you happy." His words sent a warmth spreading through her chest, and for a moment she felt speechless. No one had ever gone out of their way to make her feel this appreciated, this seen. She nodded, unable to hide the blush coloring her cheeks. "Well, mission accomplished," she whispered with a shy smile. As they stepped into the arcade, Kurumu's eyes sparkled with excitement, taking in the rows of retro game machines and the nostalgic sounds of beeping, cheering, and clicking buttons. Naruto handed her a handful of tokens, his grin widening with anticipation. "Think you can beat me?" he asked, raising an eyebrow as he held up his own stack of tokens. Kurumu smirked, her competitive spirit kicking in. "Oh, I don't just think I know. Get ready, Naruto, because I'm about to show you how it's done." She led him over to a racing game first, her confidence evident as she slid into the seat and grabbed the steering wheel. Naruto took the seat beside her, watching as she selected the fastest car with practiced ease. "Ready?" he asked, his fingers tapping on the steering wheel. Kurumu shot him a playful glance. "I was born ready." The countdown began on the screen, and as soon as the timer hit 0, they both slammed down on the gas, their cars zooming forward. Kurumu navigated the twists and turns of the course with surprising agility, leaning into each turn and expertly dodging obstacles. Naruto, meanwhile, was focused, his brow furrowed as he tried to keep up with her. "Not bad, Naruto," Kurumu teased as she zoomed ahead, narrowly missing an obstacle. "But you'll have to do better than that." Naruto chuckled, catching up to her just as they entered a particularly sharp curve. "You're in for a surprise." They spent the entire race neck and neck, trading playful jabs and laughter. As they neared the finish line, Kurumu's car was just a hair ahead, and with a final burst of speed, she crossed the finish line first, throwing her hands up in victory. "Yes!" she exclaimed, grinning from ear to ear as she looked over at Naruto. "Told you I'd win." Naruto laughed, shaking his head. All right, I'll admit it, you're pretty good. But don't think you've beaten me just yet. There are plenty more games in this place." Kurumu's grin widened. "Bring it on." They moved on to a claw machine, where Naruto tried, and failed, multiple times to win her a plush toy. Kurumu watched with amusement, cheering him on as he fumbled with the joystick, the claw either closing too soon or missing the plush entirely. "Come on, Naruto," she teased, leaning against the machine with a smirk. "Is this game too advanced for you?" He grinned, sticking his tongue out playfully. "Just you wait. I'm getting the hang of it." After a few more attempts, Naruto finally managed to grab hold of a small, stuffed dolphin. As he held it up triumphantly, Kurumu clapped her hands, genuinely delighted. "You did it!" she laughed, taking the plush dolphin from him. She hugged it close, her smile softening. "Thank you, Naruto. This is definitely a keeper." Naruto shrugged, looking a bit sheepish. "I told you I'd get it eventually." They moved on to a skee-ball machine next, where Naruto quickly redeemed himself by scoring high, much to Kurumu's surprise. She watched as he lined up each shot with surprising precision, the small wooden balls landing perfectly in the highest scoring holes. "Not bad, Naruto," she admitted, a touch of admiration in her voice. "I didn't know you had such good aim." He flashed her a confident smile. "There's more to me than meets the eye." Kurumu felt a little flutter in her chest at his words, but she quickly pushed it aside, determined to keep the playful competition going. Alright, Mr. A Master. Let's see if you can handle this one. They approached a dance machine, where players had to match their moves to the beats on the screen. Naruto eyed it warily, but Kurumu stepped up, already tapping her foot in time with the music. Don't worry, Naruto, she teased, shooting him a challenging smile. I'll go easy on you. He chuckled, stepping onto the platform beside her. Oh, I don't think so. Let's see what you've got. The music started, a fast-paced pop tune that filled the air with energy. Kurumu's movements were quick and graceful as she followed the beat, her steps perfectly timed to each arrow flashing on the screen. She laughed as Naruto struggled to keep up, his feet stumbling over the arrows. Come on, Naruto! You're supposed to be a combat specialist, she teased, giggling as he missed a step. Naruto shook his head, laughing. This is harder than it looks. You've got some serious dance skills. When the song finally ended, Kurumu was declared the winner, and she gave a triumphant little bow. Thank you, thank you. I'll be signing autographs after the game. Naruto chuckled, giving her a playful shove. You're pretty full of yourself, you know that? She shrugged, her eyes twinkling. Can you blame me? They continued their arcade tour, playing everything from air hockey to pinball, each game bringing out new rounds of laughter and playful banter. Kurumu loved how free she felt, how she didn't have to put on any kind of act around Naruto. He accepted her quirks, her competitive streak, and even her occasional smugness with a smile. As they finished up their last game, Naruto glanced down at the few remaining tokens in his hand. Alright, Kurumu, one last game. Winner takes all. She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Oh? What's the game? Naruto grinned, leading her over to a classic punching machine, a tall device with a large punching pad and a screen that measured the force of each punch. Think you can beat me? Kurumu laughed, shaking her head. I'm a lover, not a fighter, Naruto. But I guess I can give it a try. She stepped up to the machine, rolling her shoulders as she took aim. With a determined look, she pulled her fist back and swung, landing a surprisingly strong punch on the pad. The screen lit up, showing a respectable score. Not bad, Naruto said, clearly impressed. Guess I should have known better than to underestimate you. Kurumu smirked, stepping aside to give him room. Your turn, champ. Let's see what you've got. Naruto cracked his knuckles, taking a deep breath as he lined up his shot. With a swift, powerful punch, he sent the pad swinging back, and the screen flashed with a higher score than Kurumu's. He turned to her, his grin smug. Looks like I win, he said, crossing his arms triumphantly. Kurumu rolled her eyes, feigning disappointment, but inside, she felt a surge of excitement. She loved the way he challenged her, the way he didn't let her win just to be polite. It felt like they were equals, and that was a rare feeling for her. Fine, fine, she said, pouting playfully. You win this round, Naruto. But don't think I'll forget it. Naruto laughed, nudging her shoulder. I wouldn't expect you to. They made their way back to the entrance of the arcade, their laughter and playful banter lingering in the air. As they stepped outside, Kurumu took a deep breath, savoring the cool evening breeze. She hugged the small dolphin plush he'd won for her, feeling a warm, lingering happiness settle over her. Thank you, Naruto, she said softly, glancing up at him. This was incredible. I don't remember the last time I laughed this much. Naruto looked down at her, his gaze warm. I'm glad you're having fun. That's what tonight's all about. They shared a quiet smile, the playful energy between them shifting into something softer, more intimate. For the first time in a long while, Kurumu felt completely at ease, as if she could be herself without any walls or expectations. She didn't need to put on a flirty front or worry about impressing him. He saw her as she was, and that was enough. After a few moments, Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out another piece of paper, handing it to her with a grin. You ready for the next clue? Kurumu took the paper eagerly, her heart racing as she unfolded it. The next stop has feathers and fur, where purrs and wagging tails occur. A place to play with pets galore. Find it soon, there's fun in store. Kurumu's eyes widened as she realized where the clue was leading them. A pet cafe? She asked, her voice filled with excitement. Naruto nodded, smiling at her reaction. Yep. Thought you might like it. Kurumu could hardly contain her delight as she grabbed his hand, pulling him along. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Together, they headed toward the pet cafe, Kurumu's heart brimming with excitement and a growing sense of appreciation for Naruto. After a lively evening filled with arcade games, laughter, and unexpected surprises, Naruto led Kurumu down a winding path that eventually brought them to the edge of a serene, moonlit lake. The sounds of the arcade and bustling streets faded behind them, replaced by the gentle chirping of crickets and the soft rustling of the trees overhead. The lake stretched out before them, its surface smooth as glass, reflecting the silvery glow of the moon and the scattering of stars above. Kurumu took a deep breath, letting the tranquility of the scene wash over her. Naruto, this place is beautiful, she whispered, as if afraid to disturb the peace that enveloped them. Naruto smiled, watching her as she gazed at the lake with a look of quiet wonder. I thought you'd like it. I found this spot a while back. It's one of my favorites. It's peaceful. They walked along the shore until they reached a large, flat rock that jutted out over the water. Naruto gestured for her to sit, and she settled down beside him, the cool stone beneath them grounding her. For a few moments, they sat in comfortable silence, the quiet sounds of nature surrounding them. Kurumu found herself staring at the water, mesmerized by the soft ripples that appeared whenever a fish broke the surface or a breeze whispered across the lake. It's kind of amazing, Kurumu said softly, hugging her knees as she looked out over the lake. She glanced at Naruto, wondering if he could sense the thoughts swirling in her mind. She knew she could keep things light, stay in the comfortable realm of laughter and teasing, but the quiet beauty of the lake and Naruto's genuine presence made her feel like she could share something deeper. Do you ever feel like people only see one side of you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She didn't look at him, her gaze fixed on the water. Like they expect you to act a certain way, and that's all they'll ever see? She glanced down at her hands, her fingers tracing small circles on the rock's surface. As a succubus, I feel like people see me as I don't know, like I'm supposed to be flirty and confident all the time. They don't really look past that. They don't see me as anything else. She paused, her voice catching slightly. Sometimes I even wonder if I'm just empty underneath it all. Like there's nothing more to me than that. Naruto's gaze softened as he looked at her. He placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, his touch warm and reassuring. I don't see you that way, Kurumu. I see someone who's kind, who cares about her friends, who's willing to do anything for the people she loves. You're not empty. You're full of heart and strength. Kurumu's eyes filled with unshed tears as his words sank in. No one had ever looked at her like that before, let alone said those things to her. She swallowed, trying to keep her voice steady. Thank you, Naruto. That means more to me than you know. She looked away, blinking back the tears that threatened to spill. She didn't want to cry, not here, not in front of him. But Naruto's kindness, his unwavering support, broke down the wall she'd kept up for so long. Naruto scooted a little closer, his hand still resting on her shoulder. You know, you don't have to hide anything around me, he said softly. I'm here for you, Kurumu. The real you. I think that side of you is pretty amazing. Kurumu managed a small, wobbly smile, her heart pounding at the sincerity in his voice. You're different, Naruto. I didn't think anyone would really care to see that side of me. It feels like everyone just wants the surface, you know? Naruto nodded, his gaze thoughtful. I think people can be like that sometimes. But you don't have to let them define you. You get to decide who you are. She let his words settle over her, feeling the weight of them sink in. She'd spent so much of her life living up to expectations, playing a role, that she'd almost forgotten she had the power to be more. And here was Naruto, reminding her of that, showing her that there was so much more to her than she'd ever realized. Kurumu took a shaky breath, feeling a mix of gratitude and something deeper, a connection that felt as steady and profound as the lake stretching out before them. Naruto, do you think there's someone out there who could love me for who I am? All of me? Naruto's gaze met hers, his expression gentle. I don't think there's any question about it. You're kind, strong, loyal, and honestly, anyone would be lucky to have you in their life. Kurumu felt a warmth bloom in her chest, filling the emptiness she'd carried with her for so long. She couldn't remember the last time someone had spoken to her like this, with such kindness and honesty. It made her feel seen, cherished in a way that transcended any superficial charm or appearance. They sat there in silence for a while, both of them lost in their thoughts. The moon had risen higher, casting a silvery glow over the lake and illuminating their faces in soft light. Kurumu felt Naruto's hand slide down from her shoulder to her back, a comforting, steady presence that grounded her. After a while, Naruto broke the silence, his voice barely more than a whisper. Kurumu, I know you probably hear this a lot, but you really are beautiful. And I don't just mean on the outside. You're beautiful for who you are, for the way you care about others and the way you bring out the best in people. Kurumu felt her cheeks heat up, her heart fluttering at his words. She looked at him, her eyes wide and vulnerable, feeling something shift between them, something deeper than anything she'd experienced before. Thank you, Naruto, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I don't think I've ever felt like this before, like someone sees me for me. Naruto smiled, his eyes filled with warmth and understanding. I'll always see you, Kurumu. You're more than just a succubus or a pretty face. You're someone I care about. A lot. Kurumu's breath caught, and for a moment she felt as if the world had narrowed down to just the two of them. She didn't have to put on any masks, didn't have to hide behind her usual flirtatious charm. She could simply be herself, flawed, vulnerable, and for once, genuinely happy. Without thinking, she reached over and took his hand, intertwining their fingers. I feel the same way, Naruto, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Being with you, it feels like I don't have to be anyone else. Naruto's fingers tightened around hers, a silent promise, a wordless reassurance that she wasn't alone. He didn't say anything, but his presence, his warmth, spoke volumes. They sat there, hand in hand, watching the moonlight dance on the lake's surface, the silence between them filled with unspoken words and shared understanding. As the minutes passed, Kurumu rested her head on Naruto's shoulder, closing her eyes and letting herself relax fully for the first time in a long time. She felt his arm wrap around her, pulling her a little closer, and she smiled, her heart swelling with a quiet joy she hadn't thought possible. Thank you, Naruto, she whispered, her voice soft as a feather, for seeing me. He leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to the top of her head. Anytime, Kurumu. As the evening turned into night, the quiet lake and soft sounds of the night surrounded Naruto and Kurumu like a cocoon, sealing them away from the rest of the world. They stayed close, still hand in hand, their shoulders pressed together as they watched the gentle ripples on the water, reflecting the silver glow of the moon. For a long while, neither of them spoke. The silence was comfortable, filled with everything they'd shared that evening, the laughter, the games, the honesty, the vulnerabilities laid bare. Kurumu had never felt this peaceful with anyone before. For once, there was no need to be witty or charming, she could just be with Naruto. She glanced up at him, studying his profile as he looked out over the lake. His expression was calm, thoughtful, and she felt her heart tighten with affection. Hey, Naruto, she whispered, breaking the silence. Her voice was soft, but he turned to her immediately, his gaze warm and attentive. Yeah? He replied, his voice just as quiet. Kurumu bit her lip, her fingers tracing small circles on the back of his hand. She felt her heart racing, but she didn't want to hide from him anymore. I don't want tonight to be just a one-time thing, she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. I mean, I really like you, Naruto. Naruto's eyes softened, and he squeezed her hand gently. I feel the same way, he replied, his gaze never leaving hers. Kurumu's cheeks flushed, her heart pounding as she felt the sincerity in his words. She'd dreamed of someone saying those things to her, of being seen, cherished for who she was beyond her looks or succubus allure. And now, here was Naruto, looking at her like she was everything he'd been searching for. Taking a deep breath, she reached up and touched his cheek, her fingers brushing over his skin with a tenderness that surprised even her. Naruto, would you be okay? Even if it means sharing you with Moka as long as we can be together. Her voice trembled slightly, but her gaze held steady, reflecting her hope and vulnerability. Naruto's hand came up to cover hers, his expression softening even more. I'd love that, Kurumu, he said, his voice full of warmth. We'd be more than happy for you to be a part of our family. She felt the last of her fears slip away, replaced by a happiness so profound it almost brought tears to her eyes. Then I guess it's official, she said, smiling as she leaned into him, her forehead resting against his. We're together. Naruto chuckled softly, his arms wrapping around her as he held her close. Yeah, he murmured, his voice low and tender. We're together. For a long, quiet moment, they stayed that way, wrapped up in each other, the world around them fading away. Kurumu felt like she was floating, her heart so full she thought it might burst. She didn't need grand gestures or promises of forever. She just needed him, here and now, holding her like she was the only person in the world. Finally, Naruto tilted her chin up, his eyes searching hers as he leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull back if she wanted. But Kurumu didn't want to pull back. She wanted this more than anything. She closed the small distance between them, her lips meeting his in a soft, lingering kiss that felt like the culmination of everything they'd shared that night. The kiss was gentle, unhurried, filled with the warmth and trust that had grown between them. Kurumu felt her heart race, her hands finding their way to his shoulders as she leaned into him, savoring the closeness, the softness of his touch. She could feel the smile on his lips, and it made her heart swell even more, a quiet promise that this was only the beginning. When they finally pulled apart, both of them breathless, Naruto looked at her with a tenderness that melted her completely. You're amazing, Kurumu, he whispered, his fingers brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. I'm so glad we did this. Kurumu felt a shy smile tug at her lips, a warmth blooming in her chest as she rested her forehead against his. Me too, she whispered back, her voice filled with quiet joy. Thank you for seeing me. For everything. Naruto pulled her into a gentle hug, his arms wrapped around her securely, and she closed her eyes, resting her head on his shoulder. They stayed that way, listening to each other's steady breathing, the soft sounds of the lake lapping against the shore, and the distant call of an owl in the trees. The night felt endless, timeless, as if they'd found a small, perfect piece of forever in each other's arms. The heat of the early afternoon sun cast its gentle rays across the school grounds, illuminating a large oak tree at the edge of the courtyard. Underneath its canopy, Naruto Uzumaki and Moka Akashiya sat side by side. A light breeze stirred the leaves overhead, and in that shaded reprieve, they were wrapped in each other's presence. Moka wore a casual yet striking ensemble, a violet summer dress that clung to her lithe figure, over which she sported a short black blouse that ended just above her midriff. She paired the outfit with sleek black stockings and matching low-heeled shoes. A small purple handbag rested against the tree's trunk, holding her essentials for the upcoming trip. Her silver-pink hair caught flecks of sunlight, shimmering like spun silk. Naruto, sitting on her left, was dressed in a comfortable pair of dark denim jeans and a short-sleeved, black hoodie with a stylized orange swirl on the back. He had draped an arm around Moka's waist, and his warm, carefree grin seemed to reassure her of everything and anything. Nearby, Sukun Ono leaned against the trunk, fiddling with the straps of a travel backpack. Unlike Naruto, whose confidence radiated effortlessly, Sukun looked a bit uneasy. His eyes, however, kept wandering to where Yukari Sendo was standing a few feet away, making it obvious that she was on his mind. Vacation's about to start, Naruto said, shifting his attention from Sukun back to Moka. I'm pretty excited about this campout. It's connected to our club activities and… He paused when he noticed Moka's tense expression. She'd been gazing at the passing clouds overhead, lost in thought. Yeah, Moka said softly. Too haven't been back to the human world in a while. It makes my heart race with so many conflicting emotions. The last time I was there, well, it's complicated. Her voice trailed off. Naruto gently squeezed her waist. You have nothing to worry about. I'll be by your side every step of the way, my angel. He pressed a soft kiss against her temple, and she flushed a gentle pink. Moka leaned into him, relief evident in her voice. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I'm so glad you'll be with me. This time, my expectations of having fun are stronger than my fears. I'm counting on you. Naruto's gaze flickered down to the gentle curve of her neckline, and impulsively, he trailed a feather-light kiss along her throat. Moka shivered, stifling a pleased sound. Ever thought about fooling around in a tree? Naruto asked with a playful grin, letting his fingers trace her midriff just under the blouse. Moka's eyes darted around. Naruto! She hissed, cheeks flushing. There are people around. But the moment was broken by the sound of footsteps. The pair scrambled to stand properly just as Kurumu Kurono and Yukari approached. Sukun, who'd been listening quietly, moved forward to join them. Kurumu had donned a breezy white sundress with a pastel blue cardigan, perfect for the summer heat. Her vibrant purple hair was tied back with a blue ribbon, and she carried a small duffel bag stuffed with Huna hat. She greeted Naruto and Moka with a cheerful wave. Good morning, Naruto! Kurumu chirped, her voice bubbly. Yukari, on the other hand, appeared distracted. She clutched her wand protectively, and the spark in her usually mischievous gaze flickered with unease. Naruto noticed immediately. Yukari-chan, something up? He asked, concern evident in his tone. You look like you're a million miles away. Huh? Yukari blinked, momentarily surprised. Oh, it's nothing. I guess I'm just nervous about going to the human world, that's all. I haven't spent much time there aside from short visits, and the stories I've heard they make me a bit uneasy. Sukun found himself clearing his throat, stepping closer. If it helps, Yukari-chan, we'll all be together. It's safe. Besides, I can show you some fun places if we get free time. His cheeks colored faintly. Yukari gave him a shy smile in return. Kurumu slid up next to Yukari, flipping her hair in exaggerated fashion. You know, if you're worried, just hold on to Tsukun's arm, she teased with a wink. He's a natural at calming people down. Yukari's cheeks reddened, and she scowled in playful annoyance. I don't need tips from you, cow tits, she quipped, her usual snark slipping back into place. Kurumu forced a smile. Well, no tits, at least I have a heart. Oh, enough! Naruto cut in sternly, putting himself between them. Come on, you two. We're friends, remember? Can't we just tease each other without the insults? We're about to go on a trip. Let's keep it peaceful. Both Kurumu and Yukari exchanged contrite looks. Sorry, Naruto, they chimed together, sincerity in their voices. Satisfied, Naruto slung an arm around each of their shoulders briefly, ushering them toward the waiting school bus. Moka followed behind with Sukun, who offered to carry her bag. She gave a polite thanks, noticing the subtle way his gaze drifted toward Yukari. The group filed onto the familiar, somewhat rickety bus that led between the monster world and human world. Nikonome-sensei, their cat-like homeroom teacher, was already seated at the front, chatting animatedly with the mysterious bus driver, who was puffing on his cigar as usual. Ah, you made it! Nikonome-sensei greeted them cheerfully. Her ears twitched beneath her hat, tail swishing with excitement. Everyone, grab a seat, and we'll be off. Once everyone was settled, the bus driver glanced at Naruto in his rearview mirror. Hee, you're an interesting one, Naruto-san, he commented. I've heard rumors about you becoming the new head of the Public Safety Commission. Fighting upperclassmen, you stand out. Naruto's brows furrowed. How do you know all that? I just hear things here and there. You could say I bear a little responsibility for you, the bus driver answered cryptically, smoke curling around his grin. Before Naruto could press him further, the bus lurched and rattled as it entered the tunnel that bridged the worlds. When they emerged into daylight, the difference was dramatic. The sun was bright and high in the sky, people bustled about, cars honked in the distance, and the overall atmosphere felt very different from the academy grounds. Moka tensed for a moment, but Naruto brushed his fingers reassuringly against hers, anchoring her. After winding through roads that gradually became more isolated, the bus took a sharp left, passing a rusty sign that read "No Trespassing" in peeling white paint. Kurama frowned. Is it my imagination, or did that sign say we're not supposed to be here? Yukari nodded, hugging her wand close. It does look pretty abandoned. Why would we come out this far? The bus continued deeper into the mountains, the asphalt turning to gravel and the scenery shifting from populated suburbs to thick forest. Eventually, a sprawling field of sunflowers came into view, their tall stalks swaying in the breeze like a golden sea. Wow! Kurama gasped, pressing her face to the window. So pretty! Moka's eyes lit up at the sight. I didn't realize the human world could have such mesmerizing scenery. The bus shuddered to a halt at the edge of the sunflower field. Nikonome-sensei stood and blinked in confusion. This isn't the place we initially planned to stop, is it? The bus driver grinned, exhaling a puff of cigar smoke. I wanted you to see this area. Lately, it's become famous for something else, something about people being spirited away. He extended a local newspaper toward Naruto. Read up if you're curious. Just be careful not to become part of the legend yourselves. Alarmed, Naruto flipped open the paper to see headlines about mysterious disappearances. 18 sightseers have gone missing in a single month? The bus driver only chuckled. Anyway, Nikonome-sensei, how about we head into town for some fish? I know a place. Nikonome's ears perked at the word fish, and she nearly flew off the bus in excitement. The driver shut the doors behind him with a hiss of hydraulics. Wait, our luggage! Naruto protested, reaching for the overhead racks, but the bus roared to life and sped off down the narrow road. Their collective belongings vanished along with it. Unbelievable! Kurama threw her hands up. What are we supposed to do now? Our sleeping bags, clothes, everything was on that bus. Great, Naruto grumbled, scanning the horizon. The sunflower stalks towered around them, making it feel like they'd stumbled into a living maze. We can't exactly chase after them, either. Moka frowned, trying to keep her unease in check. So what do we do? A sudden rustling noise cut through the summer air. Naruto's senses kicked into high gear. He raised a hand to silence the others. Tsukun and Yukari exchanged worried glances, both clutching their respective items, a backpack for Tsukun, and a wand for Yukari. Another series of snaps and crackles echoed through the dense stalks, accompanied by an eerie, guttural growl. Everyone, run! Naruto ordered, trusting his instincts. There's a cabin that way, move! The group sprinted through the uneven terrain, pushing past the scratchy leaves of sunflowers until they finally spotted a small weather-beaten cabin at the edge of the field. They piled inside, hearts pounding. Inside, dust motes danced in the sunlight slanting through the grimy windows. A single large room with a sagging table, a few wooden chairs, and an empty fireplace greeted them. It didn't look like it had been occupied in a long time, but at least it offered shelter. They all took a moment to catch their breath. Kuruma leaned against the wall, chest rising and falling rapidly. What was that thing? She panted. We're in the human world, why do I feel like we're still surrounded by monsters? Moka, regaining her composure, picked up the newspaper Naruto had stuffed into his jacket. She skimmed it, eyes darkening at the bold letters proclaiming mass disappearances. Spirited away, Moka murmured. It's the same phrase the bus driver used. Naruto frowned, taking the paper back. Whatever's going on, it's serious. If people from the human world are disappearing, we could be dealing with a powerful monster or something else entirely. We need to stay alert. Sukun hovered near Yukari. Are you okay? He asked her gently. Yukari nodded, still clutching her wand. Just a little spooked. It's my first time being somewhere so remote in the human world. The legends about witches, honestly, part of me is curious, but it's unsettling. Sukun gave her a soft smile, which warmed her cheeks in return. Kurumu cleared her throat, rolling her eyes but smiling faintly at their exchange. We should plan our next move. Maybe we can wait here until Nikonome-sensei and the driver come back. Or we can investigate ourselves, Naruto suggested, though he knew it might be risky. He turned to Moka and Kurumu, one hand on his hip. But first, we should rest a bit. You two seemed out of breath. I'll keep watch outside to see if that thing is still lurking. Moka looked like she wanted to protest, but eventually nodded. Just be careful. Not too far from the sunflower field, a small sedan wound up a mountain pass. Inside were two women, a college-age student named Yuko and her slightly older friend and mentor, the senpai. They listened to a radio host droning on about the disappearances. In Okabanaku in Fujimi City, 18 sightseers have vanished over the past month. Local legend calls it Witch Hill, and many are wondering if supernatural forces are at play. Yuko's eyes shone with excitement, a map spread across her lap. They're talking about our destination. She squealed. I can't believe it, senpai. We're about to visit a bona fide mystery spot. The older woman laughed, though a hint of nervousness tinged her tone. You and your love for the occult, Yuko. Let's just hope we don't stumble into any real danger. Soon, they passed the same faded no trespassing sign that the bus had ignored. Rounding the corner, a vast field of sunflowers and a lonely cabin came into view, beckoning them into the heart of the legend. This is going to be great. Yuko enthused. I hear that it's a beautiful place with a bunch of sunflowers in bloom. Because of the construction, they were all going to be cut down soon, so the two thought they should see them while they had a chance. Within a section of the settlement, the newspaper club was brainstorming. Nikonome-sensei, did she wanted us to find out what was going to happen? Moka wondered as Naruto shook his head in disbelief. Doesn't sound like much of a plan. If that's true, then it'd mean she's testing us. How annoying! In that case, we should just figure out who's doing the spiriting away ourselves. What if something really does happen? This is the human world. Even my tarot cards say this vacation is ill-fated. I've had enough of you, Yukari-chan. Tarot cards are worthless anyway. If this is how you were going to be, why'd you come anyway? Kurumu rounded on here. She straightened her back, her hands on her hips as she said in an authoritative voice, if you're so worried, then why don't you just go home by yourself? You really are just a wimp, aren't you, Yukari? The room got quiet and everyone could see the dejected look on Yukari's face. Her body trembled as she whispered, "Whyu." Then she raised her head and spoke up in a loud voice, "Don't be so stupid. I'm not afraid of anything." Wait. Yukari-chan. Where are you going? Moka spoke with concern as the young witch got up and slammed the door behind her, leaving the group behind. Moka then turned to Kurumu. Come on. That was going too far. Yukari-chan is running up the mountain. Moka chastised Kurumu. We've got to follow her. Whoa, when the hell did she have an iron tarot card? Naruto asked with wide eyes. I've been stabbed, replied a light-headed Kurumu as blood dripped from her forehead. Yukari ran through the forest as thoughts filled her mind. Memories of when she was younger, of living off in a small sealed-off village at the bottom of a deep gorge. The views she was brought up on insisted that humans were the enemy, but ever since she'd met Naruto, that had all changed. She didn't know what to think anymore. Suddenly, a loud piercing noise filled that air as Yukari turned to find out where it was coming from. A scream? She asked herself as her legs began moving towards the noise. It came from the sunflower garden. Could they be in danger? Soon she found herself sprinting, trying to find the location of the scream. What's with this sunflower garden? Yuko screamed as she struggled against the flowers which were trying to swallow up her senpai. This can't be happening. Someone help! Finally Yukari arrived to the scene, but she froze when she saw who it was that screamed. A human. Yukari thought to herself before she heard the girl ask, "Who are you?" Why are you dressed like that? Are you a witch? The way she had said those words brought a cold indifference to her heart as she spun on her heels and began to walk away. My mistake. I thought someone else was in danger. I wouldn't have bothered to come if I had known it was some human stranger, she said in a chilly tone. Wait. Help me. She's going to be eaten. Yuko begged to the retreating witch. My senpai. My senpai is going to be eaten by these sunflowers. What? Yukari asked as she turned around and inspected the scene more closely. It's my fault. I was the one who said she should come to this witch hill as a test of courage, and because of me, my senpai was suddenly attacked by the sunflowers. Tears were forming at the edge of the girl's eyes as she struggled to keep her senpai from being eaten. What is this? Yukari thought as she looked on in horror. Is that a plant? A plant feeding on a human? Could this be a type of magic plant? Suddenly, a growling voice came from one of the plants as it said, "Food." Then it turned to Yukari and opened a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. It used its vines as limbs as it stalked towards Yukari, hungrily growling, "Food." It lifted itself high into the air by using its stem. It roared as it lunged at Yukari, who barely managed to miss being eaten. Kya! She screamed as she was thrown backwards from the impact. But even as she lay there stunned, she began connecting the dots. Could this be what's been causing all those people to be spirited away? She thought as surprise and shock filled her. All those people who disappeared were eaten by this. But she had no more time to think, as she saw the monster ready itself for another attack. Thinking quickly, she pulled out some of her tarot cards, holding 10 in one hand. With resolution, she yelled, "I'm not going to let myself be eaten by this thing," as she threw her magic-induced tarot cards at the monster plant. The tarots hit their mark and embedded themselves into the plant. She was glad that her plan seemed to be working and was about to make her finishing move when she was suddenly hoisted up into the air by her legs. The plant monster had managed to catch her just before she had made her move. There, I knew I heard someone over there, Moka said as she pointed somewhere behind her. It sounded like a scream. Kurumu walked far behind the group. She could hear how they were all concerned over the young witch, and she couldn't help but feel guilty. If Yukari was in danger, it would be all her fault that she was. Yukari-chan, she thought as the guilt accumulated inside her chest, maybe I went too far. She moved away from her thoughts as she looked at everyone else who was busy searching for Yukari. I told them it was ill-fated. We shouldn't have come to the human world to begin with. Now I'm going to be eaten. Oh, I wish everyone was here for me now. Someone save me, Yukari begged within her mind. Save me, someone save me. You really are just a wimp, aren't you, Yukari? The memory of Kurumu's words somehow snapped her out of her pitiful trance. Just in time too, since the jaws of the plant were about to dig into her flesh. A surge of power filled her as she lifted up her wand. She called upon a tarot card which obeyed her call and cleanly sliced the top jaw of the plant that was about to eat her. Deftly she escaped and landed on the ground. I can't believe I'd have to go think of someone like her at a time like this, Yukari said in a serious tone. I can't stand it. I'm not going to let her make fun of me again. Her eyes now held a look of determination as she looked at the roaring plant monsters. They didn't seem to like that she had sliced one of their comrades in half. But she prepared for that, and their roar did not terrify her anymore. She stood her ground as they lunged at her with open mouths. Witch-san. Hey, what are you doing? Watch out. Yuko warned the younger girl who would be eaten by the plant if she didn't move. But her worry was in vain as multiple taros shot out and cleanly sliced the other plant monsters in half as well. The reason my attack didn't work was because it wasn't powerful enough. In that case, it's simple. I just need to increase the attack force. It should work if I harness the full magic for this spell. I won't continue to fall behind. She felt all the magic from her body drain from her as she placed the power into the attack. Tarot cards flew everywhere, cutting down any plant monster that reared its ugly head. In less than a minute there was nothing but corpses of the plant monsters littering the ground. Yukari suddenly felt weak in the knees as her eyesight became blurry. But she smiled as she fell backwards. There, see? I am a genius after all, was her last thought before darkness took her. What is this? Plant monsters, Kurumu said as she surveyed the chaos. Did Yukari-chan beat them all up? Wow. Found her, yelled Naruto as he ushered everyone to where he was. Relieved sighs escaped the group as he cradled Yukari in his arms. She was alive and was breathing normally save for a little sweat that dripped down the side of her face. Two girls suddenly came up to the newspaper club and thanked them. Is she with you? We'd like to thank Witch-san for saving our lives. If it hadn't been for her, Senpai and I would have been eaten by those plant monsters. Kurumu had distanced herself away from the group and was standing on a patch of sunflowers that hadn't been turned into monsters. A small smile played on her lips as she thought, she really did beat them. I guess she is the type that hates losing after all. Then she spotted Yukari's hat hidden somewhere beneath a pile of debris. She got up and went over to pick it up. She held it in her hands a bit, thinking of how Yukari had defeated those monsters. Slowly, she turned around and walked back to the group. You're not weak at all, Yukari-chan. She spoke in a proud voice as she placed the hat on Yukari. I'm sorry for saying those awful things to you before. Everyone gave a small smile at the touching scene before them. Monsters in the human world? What on earth is going on? Deep in the mountain and isolated from human taint, two figures conversed in a hidden cabin. A witch on my hill, the figure that was clearly touched by age's hand questioned her apprentice. A cool breeze ruffled the endless rows of sunflowers, carrying the scent of sap and pollen to the group standing in the aftermath of the battle. Ragged vines and severed stalks littered the ground, the remains of the monstrous plants that Yukari had fought so fiercely. Naruto knelt beside the unconscious Yukari, cradling her gently. A faint sheen of sweat glistened on her forehead, and her breath came in soft, shallow puffs. Kurumu, Moka, and Sukun hovered close by, relief plain on their faces. Is she going to be okay? Sukun asked in a shaky voice, eyes fixed on Yukari's pale features. The worry in his expression was unmistakable. It went beyond simple friendship. Whenever Yukari stirred, Sukun's fingers twitched as if he wanted to reach out and comfort her. Moka bent down, resting a gentle hand on Yukari's shoulder. She's breathing normally, just exhausted from using too much magic, she said, looking up at Naruto for confirmation. Naruto nodded. Yeah, she put a lot of power into those tarot attacks. That's what saved those humans from ending up as plant food, he replied, shooting a glare at the torn sunflowers. Still can't believe something like this is lurking in the human world. Nearby, the two humans Yukari had saved, Yuko and her senpai, stood with tears still wet on their cheeks. The older woman was nursing a bruised arm, while Yuko trembled with lingering fear. They clung to each other, trying to steady their nerves. Thank you, Yuko managed, bowing to Naruto, Moka, Kurumu, and Sukun. If it wasn't for that witch-san we'd be, she swallowed, unable to finish the thought. We're just glad you're safe, Moka said softly. But please keep this incident a secret. We don't want people panicking about things they can't explain. The senpai, still shaken, nodded emphatically. Yes, of course. We wouldn't even know who to tell who would believe us, she murmured, casting a horrified glance at the remains of the mutated sunflowers. Kurumu walked over to Yukari's hat, which she had set on the ground after picking it up. She brushed off bits of leaf and dirt, then approached the unconscious witch. With a look of regret and fondness, Kurumu gently placed the hat on Yukari's chest. "You really proved me wrong," she whispered, voice low so only Yukari, if she were awake, might hear. "I'm sorry for calling you a wimp." Taking a breath, she turned to Naruto and Moka. "We should find somewhere for her to rest. A real bed, or at least a sofa. That cabin we found earlier is still around, right?" Naruto stood, gently lifting Yukari into his arms in a bridal carry. "Yeah, let's head back there." He met Sukun's gaze. The boy nodded, face a mask of relief and concern. As they started toward the cabin, Yuko and her senpai trailed behind, unsure whether to follow or run away from these seemingly supernatural people. Ultimately, fear of more plant monsters convinced them to stay close. The small wooden cabin was cramped but offered some cover from the hot sun and potential danger. An old couch lay against one wall, its cushions tattered and dusty. Naruto laid Yukari on it, propping a rolled-up blanket under her head. Kurumu quickly found a bucket near the empty fireplace and dashed outside to fill it with water from a nearby stream. She returned, setting it down for Moka to dampen a cloth and place it across Yukari's forehead. Sukun paced near the doorway, peering out at the sunflower field warily. His pulse still pounded from adrenaline. He couldn't shake the image of Yukari battling those monstrosities alone. "I should have been there." Despite the tension, Naruto and Moka shared a quiet look. Naruto, Moka, and Kurumu were in a complicated relationship that worked for them, but seeing Sukun so distressed over Yukari tugged at their hearts. Even Kurumu, usually quick with a snarky comment, felt guilt prick her stomach. "Hey," Naruto said softly, stepping up beside Sukun and placing a firm hand on his shoulder, "she's safe now. You'll get your chance to talk to her." Sukun breathed out slowly. "Yeah, I just hate that she felt so alone." He stopped, face heating up as he realized he'd almost admitted his crush outright. Kurumu arched an eyebrow knowingly. Moka simply smiled, though worry for Yukari still weighed on her. At last, Yukari stirred, eyelids fluttering open. She blinked in confusion as she took in the faces around her. Where?" "You're safe," Moka assured her. "We found you after you collapsed." Sukun darted closer, cheeks tinted pink. "Are you okay, Yukari-chan?" Yukari looked from Sukun to Kurumu and Naruto, recalling everything that had happened. She swallowed, a rush of conflicting emotions swirling in her chest, pride at defeating the monsters, to embarrassment at collapsing, to relief that everyone had come for her. "I'm fine," she whispered, still weak. But when she tried to sit up, her vision swam. Sukun quickly helped her by supporting her back with his arm, and she felt her face grow warm at his gentleness. Kurumu cleared her throat. "Yukari-chan, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said all those things earlier." She hesitated, then added, "You were amazing out there." Slowly, Yukari's eyes filled with tears, though she blinked them back. "Don't worry about it. I guess I needed some kind of push." She managed a small smile at Kurumu. Yuko and her senpai stepped forward, bowing deeply to Yukari. "Thank you," they both said, voices trembling with gratitude. "You saved our lives." At the mention of humans, Yukari's expression flickered with conflict. She'd been raised to distrust them. But after meeting Naruto, Sukun, and the others, half monster, half human or not, her worldview was already changing. She lowered her gaze, nodding stiffly. "I just did what anyone else would do," she said, still unable to meet their eyes. Naruto glanced around. "We need answers. Monsters in the human world are bad enough, but man-eating plants? Something's up. And this is Witch Hill, right? Maybe we should figure out who's behind all this." Yukari, steeling herself, agreed. There must be a source of that plant magic. It didn't feel natural. Elsewhere, deeper into the mountains, a narrow footpath twisted through dense trees and thick moss. At the end of the overgrown trail sat a different cabin, larger and older. Ivy crawled up its side, and the very air seemed to swirl with an unseen magic. Inside, two figures stood in a room illuminated by flickering candles. Shelves crammed with jars, books, and peculiar trinkets lined the walls. One figure was cloaked in a thick robe, hunched over due to age. Her knotted fingers drummed against a gnarled wooden staff. The other figure, which was taller and younger, hovered at her side, eyes gleaming with curious anticipation. "A witch on my hill," the old one rasped, turning to her apprentice. Her voice cracked with disdain, yet a glimmer of intrigue danced across her ancient features. "I thought I sensed another user of magic." The apprentice bowed slightly, black hair spilling over their shoulders. "Yes, master. And it appears she's quite powerful. She destroyed nearly all the mortared sunflowers that you planted." The elder witch narrowed her eyes. "Foolish youth. This land is mine. My domain. If she's meddling, she must be taught a lesson." "Do you wish me to handle it?" the apprentice offered, lips curving into a half smile. A swirl of magical energy coiled around their fingertips, tinted a sickly green. The old witch considered. "Not yet. Let us see how this intruder fares against our entire garden if she dares to come further. We must remain hidden for now." She turned away, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I have other plans." The apprentice nodded. "As you wish." Outside, a breeze rustled the dense canopy. Unbeknownst to the two witches, an inky black crow perched on a branch just beyond the window, as though listening in. It gave a single croak before spreading its wings and disappearing into the twilight. Back in the cramped safety of the first cabin, Yukari slowly sipped a cup of water Kurumu handed her. Naruto, arms folded, leaned against the wall near Moka, who was trying to console a frightened Yuko and her senpai. Sukun helped tie a makeshift bandage around the senpai's arm, using scraps of cloth he found in a cabinet. A quiet camaraderie settled among them. The immediate crisis was over, yet none of them could shake the feeling that something bigger loomed ahead. Moka glanced at the newspaper headline again: "Multiple sightseers disappear from Witch Hill, believed to be spirited away." "All right," Naruto announced, breaking the silence. "We can't just ignore this. Nikanome-sensei might have wanted us to investigate, but either way, there are more people in danger if these plant creatures keep roaming around." Sukun nodded, placing a gentle hand on Yukari's shoulder. "If you're up for it, we'd really appreciate your help, Yukari-chan. You're probably the best at identifying magical traps." Yukari flushed at the praise. If you want me to," she stammered. Despite her lingering exhaustion, she seemed spurred on by Tsukun's request and the earlier show of concern. "I sensed a strong magical signature near the far side of the sunflower field. We could start there." Moka turned to the two human girls. "What will you do?" Yuko exchanged a look with her senpai. They seemed not only torn but terrified and also curious. "We will go back to town," Yuko finally said. "I'm sorry, I don't think we can handle this." She gestured to the carnage outside. "But please, if there's anything we can do?" Kurumu managed a reassuring smile. "Just head somewhere safe, okay? Call the authorities if anything else weird happens, but maybe don't tell them about the monster part." The senpai shakily smiled back, trying to lighten the mood. "I doubt they'd believe us, anyway. Thank you all again." With that, the pair carefully made their way out of the cabin, glancing nervously at the looming sunflowers but determined to get home. Naruto watched them go, then turned back to the others. "All right, let's do this step by step. First, we need supplies. Our bags are still with that crazy bus driver. But we can manage with what we have." He grinned, though it held an edge of seriousness. "We'll track down whoever or whatever is controlling these plants." Moka adjusted her short black blouse and nodded, steel in her eyes. Kurumu shrugged, flipping her hair back. "As long as we don't have to chop down all the sunflowers," she joked half-heartedly. Yukari closed her eyes, summoning what was left of her strength. "Let's find the source of that magic and put a stop to it." Then her gaze flicked over to Tsukun, a hint of color returning to her cheeks. "We'll do it together." Tsukun smiled. "Of course." So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know in the comment section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.